Welcome to Dollar Side Hustle, your go-to podcast for all things side hustle. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into the world of food delivery. Specifically, is it still a viable side hustle in 2025? We've got a stack of real driver experiences from online forums so we can cut through the hype and see what it's really like out there. Some of the questions we'll be exploring are, is the golden age of food delivery over? Can drivers actually turn a profit after expenses? And what strategies can help maximize earnings and avoid those common pitfalls?
What's fascinating is that while the pandemic was a boom time for delivery, things seem to be shifting.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of chatter about driver saturation.
Exactly. More drivers are competing for fewer orders, leading to longer wait times and lower earnings per hour. And it doesn't help that companies are still aggressively recruiting new drivers.
So it's not as simple as just hopping in your car and cashing in anymore.
It's definitely more complex than it used to be. The real question now is profitability. Can you consistently make a decent profit after factoring in all the expenses?
Because it's not just the pay per order. It's gas, vehicle maintenance, taxes. All those hidden costs can really add up.
Absolutely. We're seeing drivers report that they're barely making minimum wage after accounting for those expenses.
One driver even tracked their earnings meticulously for 2 weeks and found that between the wear and tear on their car and the inconsistent income, it just wasn't worth it for them.
That raises an interesting point. Is food delivery better suited as a way to supplement your income, or can you realistically make a living doing it full-time? Based on the data we're saying, the answer really depends on your specific market and your strategy.
Okay, so let's talk strategy. What are some of the ways drivers are trying to maximize their earnings in this new landscape?
Well, a common theme is location, location, location. Drivers are emphasizing the importance of focusing on high-income areas with lots of restaurants and customers who tip well.
So strategically positioning yourself near busy malls with a mix of high-end and fast food options, for example.
Exactly. Another key strategy is being selective about which orders you accept. Many drivers are choosing to decline low or no tip orders to increase their earnings per mile and per hour.
Makes sense. You don't want to be driving all over town for peanuts.
Right. A good rule of thumb is to aim for orders that pay at least $1 per mile, ideally more. This helps ensure that you're making a decent profit after accounting for your expenses.
There's also a lot of discussion about something called acceptance rate. Could you explain what that is and why it matters?
Sure. Acceptance rate is basically a measure of how often you accept the orders the app sends you. Some drivers believe that maintaining a high acceptance rate gives them priority access to better paying orders, but others find that it leads to accepting more unprofitable deliveries.
So it's a bit of a gamble.
It can be. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on your individual market and driving style.
We're also seeing drivers talk about multi-apping, using multiple delivery apps simultaneously.
That's another strategy for potentially boosting earnings. By juggling multiple apps, drivers can increase their chances of receiving orders and maximize their time on the road.
But of course, that comes with its own set of challenges. Managing multiple apps and staying organized can be a lot to handle.
Absolutely. It requires a certain level of multitasking skill and organization.
Speaking of skills, the drivers who are consistently making a profit emphasize the importance of mastering your local area.
It's not just about knowing the streets. It's about understanding the nuances of your specific market.
So things like knowing the shortcuts, the good and bad restaurants, even recognizing bad tippers over time.
Exactly. It's about building a mental map of your delivery zone, the traffic patterns, the customer demographics, the peak hours.
It sounds like experienced drivers are treating this like a game, figuring out the optimal way to play it to maximize their earnings.
That's a great analogy. They're constantly analyzing the data, testing different strategies, and refining their approach based on experience.
So there's a definite learning curve involved.
Absolutely. But for those who are willing to put in the effort, there's definitely potential to make food delivery a viable side hustle, even in 2025. One thing that comes up a lot is the idea of treating food delivery like a business, not just a way to make some quick cash.
So thinking like an entrepreneur.
Exactly. It's about setting goals, tracking your earnings and expenses, and constantly looking for ways to improve your efficiency and profitability.
We've seen drivers mention the importance of scheduling dashes in advance to secure those primetime slots.
That's a great example of proactive thinking. You're not just waiting for orders to come in. You're planning your workday to maximize your earning potential.
And it ties into what we were discussing earlier about mastering your local area. Knowing when and where the demand is highest allows you to be strategic with your time.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the rhythms of your market.
Hmm.
The lunch rush, the dinner crowd, the late-night snackers.
One driver mentioned how they live near a popular cluster of restaurants and would strategically sign in from home, waiting for those high-paying orders to pop up in their immediate vicinity.
That's a brilliant strategy if you're in the right location. It minimizes your driving time and maximizes your earnings per hour.
But it also highlights the importance of carefully analyzing your local market.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a sparsely populated area with few restaurants, that strategy might not be as effective.
Right. It's about adapting your approach based on your specific circumstances and understanding the dynamics of your delivery zone.
Another interesting strategy we've seen is focusing on specific types of orders.
Some drivers have found success by specializing in catering orders or large orders, avoiding the smaller, less profitable deliveries.
So essentially niching down within the food delivery market.
Exactly. It's about identifying an area where you can excel and potentially command higher fees.
For example, one driver mentioned that they completely avoid fast food orders, focusing instead on higher-end restaurants where customers tend to tip better.
That's a smart strategy, but again, it depends on your market and your preferences as a driver.
We've also seen drivers emphasize the importance of building relationships with restaurants.
It's not just about being polite and courteous, although that's always important. It's about understanding the nuances of each restaurant's workflow.
Knowing which restaurants are quick and efficient and which ones are notorious for delays.
Exactly, because every minute you spend waiting for an order is a minute you're not earning money.
One driver mentioned how they strategically avoided certain restaurants even if the order seemed lucrative because they knew from experience that they'd end up waiting an eternity for the food.
It's about recognizing that time is money and making calculated decisions to maximize your efficiency.
So it's not just about driving, it's about managing your time effectively.
Absolutely. It's about treating this like a business and optimizing your workflow to maximize your earnings.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the mental and emotional side of food delivery, which can be challenging.
It's not just about the money, it's about the lifestyle and the impact it can have on your well-being.
We've seen drivers talk about the stress of inconsistent income, the pressure to accept every order, the fear of getting bad ratings.
Those are all valid concerns. The gig economy by its nature can be unpredictable and create a sense of instability.
One driver shared their experience of feeling like they were constantly on call, always chasing the next dollar, never knowing how much they'd make from one day to the next.
That constant uncertainty can be mentally and emotionally draining.
Another driver talked about the anxiety they felt about getting bad ratings from customers.
They worried that one bad review could damage their reputation and lead to fewer orders in the future.
It's like you're constantly being judged, always walking on eggshells, trying to please everyone.
It's important to remember that you can't please everyone and you shouldn't try to.
It's about setting boundaries and prioritizing your own well-being.
Don't be afraid to decline orders that are too stressful or inconvenient, and don't take bad ratings personally.
Sometimes customers are just having a bad day. It has nothing to do with you or your service.
We've seen drivers suggest different ways to manage the stress of this gig.
Like taking breaks throughout the day, even if it's just for a few minutes to stretch, breathe, and clear your head.
Or practicing mindfulness techniques like meditation or deep breathing to help stay calm and centered.
It's about finding what works for you and making self-care a priority.
And remembering that you're not alone in this. There's a whole community of food delivery drivers out there facing similar challenges.
Connecting with other drivers, sharing tips and strategies, and offering support can be incredibly helpful.
It's about creating a sense of camaraderie and solidarity in this often isolating gig.
Now, let's not forget about safety, which is a paramount concern for food delivery drivers.
Especially those who are working late at night or in unfamiliar areas.
We've come across some harrowing stories from drivers about dangerous encounters, from aggressive customers to traffic accidents.
It's a reminder that this job comes with inherent risks, and it's essential to take precautions to protect yourself.
One driver shared a story about being followed by a suspicious car while making a late-night delivery.
They were able to escape unharmed, but it was a terrifying experience that highlights the importance of being vigilant and aware of your surroundings.
Another driver talked about their strategy for delivering to apartment buildings, especially at night.
They always park in a well-lit area, make sure the building entrance is unlocked before getting out of their car, and avoid going inside if they feel unsafe.
Those are all smart strategies. It's about being proactive and minimizing your exposure to potential risks.
Another common safety tip is to avoid carrying large amounts of cash.
Most delivery apps allow for electronic payments, so there's no need to be a walking target for robbery.
And if you do have to accept cash, keep it in a separate pocket or pouch and don't flash it around.
Having a reliable phone with a good GPS system is also crucial.
Not only will it help you navigate unfamiliar areas, but it can also be a lifeline in case of an emergency.
Make sure your phone is fully charged before you start your shift, and consider investing in a portable charger to keep in your car.
And remember, if you're ever in a situation where you feel unsafe, don't hesitate to call for help.
Your safety is paramount, and there's no shame in trusting your instincts and removing yourself from a potentially dangerous situation.
Now let's talk about customer interactions, which are a crucial part of this job.
It is a service industry after all, and your interactions with customers can impact your earnings and overall experience.
We've seen drivers stress the importance of being polite and professional, even when customers are rude or demanding.
It's about maintaining a positive attitude and remembering that a smile and a friendly demeanor can go a long way.
Customers are more likely to reward good service with a generous tip, even if the delivery itself isn't perfect.
Communication is also key.
Always keep the customer informed if there are any delays, issues with the order, or difficulty finding their address.
Clear and timely communication can prevent a lot of frustration and negative reviews.
It shows the customer that you're taking their order seriously and that you're committed to providing excellent service.
Some drivers even go above and beyond by carrying small amenities in their cars, like hand sanitizer or mints to offer to customers.
Those little touches of hospitality can make a big difference in creating a positive experience and setting yourself apart from other drivers.
It's about creating a memorable interaction that goes beyond just delivering food.
It's about building a reputation for excellent service and potentially earning repeat business through positive word of mouth.
So while navigating the logistics and challenges of food delivery is essential, remember that it's ultimately a people-centric business.
It's about building relationships, providing excellent service, and creating a positive experience for everyone involved.
And that can be a recipe for success both financially and personally in the world of food delivery. We've covered a lot of ground, from the nitty-gritty of maximizing earnings to the mental and emotional realities of being a delivery driver. Now let's zoom out and consider the bigger picture, the ethical and economic forces shaping this whole gig economy landscape.
One of the most interesting aspects to me is the power dynamic at play. You have these massive tech companies connecting customers, restaurants, and drivers, but they're often the ones reaping the largest profits.
Well, the drivers bear a lot of the risk.
Precisely. And then there's the impact on traditional restaurants. Some argue these delivery apps are a lifeline in a tough market, but others feel squeezed by high commission fees and a loss of control over their brand.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers. And it raises questions about the long-term sustainability of this model. Like, let's start with tipping, which is always a hot topic in the food delivery world. We see drivers expressing frustration, feeling that customers don't always grasp the true cost of their convenience. Yeah, one driver put it bluntly, a $2 tip for a 10-mile delivery just doesn't cut it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're right, especially when you factor in gas, wear and tear on the vehicle, and all those other expenses.
It goes back to the question of value. What are people willing to pay for convenience? And are drivers being fairly compensated for their time, effort, and the risks they take on?
Some argue the tipping system is inherently flawed, putting too much burden on the customer and creating an uneven playing field for drivers.
There's been talk of alternative models, a fixed delivery fee split between the driver and platform, or even a subscription service for unlimited deliveries. It'll be interesting to see how this evolves.
Another issue that's bubbling up is the use of personal data by these tech companies. They're collecting vast amounts of information about our eating habits, locations, payment details.
And there are concerns about how that data is being used, potential sale to third parties, or even manipulation of our choices.
It's a question of privacy and control. Who owns our data, and how is it being used to influence our behavior? These are big questions with no easy answers, but they're questions we need to be asking as we become increasingly reliant on these platforms.
Now, shifting to the restaurant perspective, we see concerns about those high commission fees charged by delivery apps. It can eat into already thin profit margins, and some restaurants feel pressured to sign up with multiple platforms just to stay competitive.
One driver pointed out that those fees make it hard for restaurants to pay their staff a living wage, which in turn might lead to lower quality food or service.
It's a domino effect, and some restaurants are pushing back, experimenting with in-house delivery services to cut out the middleman. It'll be interesting to see if this trend gains traction.
And then there's the looming question of automation. We're already seeing self-driving delivery robots popping up in some cities. What does this mean for the future of human drivers?
It's hard to say for sure. Some experts predict automation will eventually displace most delivery drivers, while others believe there will always be a need for human interaction and judgment in this field.
It's a topic that sparks a lot of debate,
Hmm.
and one we'll be following closely as technology continues to advance. So as we wrap up this deep dive into food delivery, what are some key takeaways for our listeners who might be considering this as a side hustle?
Do your research. Understand the pros and cons, the potential earnings in your area, and the very real risks involved. Talk to other drivers, read those online forums, and get a sense of what it's truly like out there.
Be realistic about your goals. Don't expect to get rich quick. This is a side hustle, not a lottery ticket.
Remember, your time and safety are valuable. Don't be afraid to decline orders that are too far, too low paying, or feel unsafe in any way.
Set boundaries to protect your mental well-being. The gig economy can be demanding, so make self-care a priority.
And stay informed about the industry. Rules, technology, and best practices are constantly changing, so keep learning and adapting.
Most importantly, treat it like a business. Track your earnings, manage your expenses, and make strategic decisions that will maximize your profits and minimize your stress.
The gig economy is here to stay. It's reshaping how we work, and it's up to each individual to navigate it wisely, ensuring it works for them, not against them.
That wraps up our deep dive into the world of food delivery. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little inspiring.
Remember, knowledge is power. And in the ever-evolving gig economy, knowledge is the key to making informed decisions and finding success.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of side hustles. And be sure to check out the links in the description for some awesome side hustle resources. Full disclosure, those are affiliate links, and the commissions help keep this channel running. Your support is truly appreciated. Until next time, happy hustling. Happy hustling. Happy